Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my IT 415 final presentation. The name of my presentation is Colorado Tobacco, a Change in Substances. So, main topic. So, I found major interest in the gradual changes in tobacco sales within the United States. I really want to find out and figure out and visualize these kind of changes while at the same time making sense of what causes these changes. The use of tobacco and all of the disorders and diseases that causes them have affected my family and friends for very many generations, and that is why I had a lot of interest in this subject. I specifically wanted to explore what influence that the cannabis plant could have had on the tobacco industry since its legalization in the state of Colorado in November 2012, as well as its official implementation of its recreational use and sale in January of 2014. So data source. So I took the data from a number of different sources, but I wanted to make sure that I only used legitimate resources. So the main sources that I referenced were the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, which is a government organization that seeks to specifically protect public safety and health through the process of controlling and preventing diseases and injuries. I use this source to reference the current amount of tobacco use in adults living in Colorado, specifically those citizens of Colorado that currently use tobacco, as well as those who have tried it or previously used it in the past. Another place I referenced was the National Center for Biotechnology Information, which is a branch of the National Institute of Health that works specifically to efficiently store as well as retrieve bioinformatic tools and databases to help with the development of biotechnological resources and tools. I use this source to reference the overall marijuana use amongst Colorado adults since its legalization within the state. And I also wanted to use it to show the correlation between marijuana as well as tobacco use. So the visualizations I chose. So I decided to make use of two different types of visualizations, specifically the Google line chart and the Google column chart. I used the Google line line graph, to show the gradual changes in both marijuana and tobacco sales since the legalization of marijuana in the state of Colorado in 2014. The line chart helps to show the correlations between tobacco and marijuana sales. I use the Google column chart to show the decrease over time in tobacco use in adults, both current and past use, within Colorado. And the column chart also helps to show the changes within percent of adult tobacco users in Colorado since the early 2000s. So the line graph. So I chose the line graph to show the changes in marijuana and tobacco sales for a number of different reasons. The data that I was collecting was very simple and straightforward, specifically referenced from the Center for Disease Control. The data that I was collecting was all numerical, and it was represented through millions of dollars. And I figured that the line graph would represent these changes these changes of millions of dollars very well. I'd like to think that the line graph does an excellent job of showing the correlation between the sales of two different substances, one that has been used since the early days of the United States, which is tobacco, and one that has been continuously deemed an illegal drug that has little to no medical or beneficial use. So this is the column chart that I made use of. I decided to use a column chart to show the percent of users as well. The data that I collected from the references made use of a percentage numerical value. I wanted to use a column chart to show these percentages of tobacco use in Colorado inhabitants. The column chart does an excellent job because it's able to show both the percent of current tobacco users over time, as well as those Colorado adults who previously made use of tobacco but do not use it anymore. I think the column chart does a good job of showing the gradual decrease in both current and previous adult tobacco users over a period of 14 years. The column chart also makes use of its classic style, so you can go back and forth between a newer look as well as the original look. Okay, findings. So through the visualizing of this numerical data that I decided to reference, I found that there are a number of very interesting findings. Since the implementation of the recreational use of the cannabis plant in Colorado, I've noticed that tobacco sales have dropped over an annual rate of $32 million, which is a pretty significant change in sales. Within the first year of legalization, Colorado collected over $65 million in tax revenue, which is a pretty significant amount of money. The revenue collected solely from the cannabis sales within Colorado since January of 2014 has increased over 300% since its implementation, which is a very significant increase. Within 2 years of its implementation in Colorado, the cannabis plant also has surpassed tobacco plant sales, which is very significant. Although these findings seem very significant, we always have to remember that even the correlation does not mean causation. All right, and this is my page of references. All right, thank you very much for listening. Thank you, and good day.